Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and it's time to look ahead for the games in Week 9 in the NFL. Some really good value last week early on. We nailed the Cincinnati Bengals. We also nailed the under on the Jets-Giants, which wasn't too hard, but still, we nailed that one anyway, and a few other gems. A few things did not go our way, but that's okay. That's the nature of the beast. We're always going to be here making sure we celebrate the W's and, well, take responsibility for the L's. That's also a big part of this. And to help us get through Week 9 and see if there's some early value this week, Pat Fitzmaurice and Sam Hoppen join me, as always, here on the program. Gentlemen, let's jump right into it. Before we get to some of the pieces this week that we want to take some early looks on, I want to remind everybody we've got a new giveaway for you, a 1-year subscription to our Premium Betting Pros for free. You can win this. All you have to do is drop a comment below, subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel. That's it. That's all you got to do. And click those notifications so you know if you are the big winner of the 1-year free premium upgrade to our Betting Pros product. Don't forget, with BP, bet smarter, not harder. So let's do that. Let's bet smart here. And let's start with Thursday Night Football. Always a fun place to start. I guess we're going to get Mitchell Trubisky for this game. I don't know. It's early, so we're not sure what we're going to figure out here. But Will Levis, we are going to get again in Week 9 in the NFL. Will Levis somehow was the cheat code to unlocking DeAndre Hopkins. Who'd have thought? The number for this game, gentlemen, is 36. Right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-point favorites at home against Tennessee. If you like Tennessee for the upset plus 130, that's available as well. Pat, let's take a look at this game here. I know Levis exceeded all expectations. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the injury to Kenny Pickett really kind of ruined that opportunity for them to win at home against Jacksonville. So what do you make out of this early line that you see so far?
I can't in good conscience take the Steelers here, Joe. Like, they've just burned me too many times, and I thought it was such a good spot for them coming out of the bye against the Jaguars. I thought they would circle the wagons and have their act together, and that really wasn't the case. So are they going to right the ship in 3 days? I'm skeptical. But at the same time, I also worry that the encore for Will Levis won't go as well as the debut. So I'm not sure if I see any value here to either side, but I've already bet the under. I think we could see one of the lowest totals of the year in this game. It's 36.5 was the open. I think it's going to continue to go down. So I want to grab it at 36.5. I think it goes down to 36, maybe 35.5 before kickoff on Thursday.
Yeah, the under is my early lean on this one as well. Sam, maybe they can petition to wear the Oilers jerseys every week. Maybe that's a thing for Will Levis. If I was him, that's what I'd be doing. What about you here in this one, Sam? Do you think the under is the way to go? Or you think maybe just keep rolling with Will Levis and Hopkins and the Titans on the money line?
I think that if you're going to back the Titans, the money line is the way to go, because you're sort of betting into the variance of Will Levis, not, totally knowing what he is at this point. It's kind of weird. Vrabel came out this morning and said that Levis was the starter, but then I think he said that he was going to be the starter if Tannehill couldn't go. So I don't know if that's him trying to lead on that Tannehill is maybe healthier for the trade deadline that's coming tomorrow. But I do think that the Titans, again, in this spot with a 36-point total, are an incredible teaser leg, teasing them out to 8.5. You've got the Wong teaser aspect of this. I don't see a situation where the Steelers are blowing out this Titans team.
All right, we're going to go to Germany for a big game here. This one's a fun one. The Kansas City Chiefs coming off a very tough loss here. They are 6-2. They'll take on the 6-2 Miami Dolphins. So 50.5 is the number for this one. Miami on the money line is plus 125. But as one would imagine, the Kansas City Chiefs 2.5-point favorites. Now, Sam, in this game yesterday, obviously it was a little rough sledding there for Patrick Mahomes. He was ill. He was playing through it. He did not look quite like himself, I think, in this game, but no excuses. It was not a good loss for them on the road against Denver. Now you got to travel from Denver. You got to go all the way to Germany. What kind of impact do you think this has on Kansas City and on this line potentially as the week goes on?
I think the line's about right. I made this Kansas City 3.5, and after thinking about it more, I think Kansas City being on the other side of 3 makes a lot more sense. For me, the early lean I have is to bet the under. I mean, these are two teams that have some great offenses, but I've talked a lot about recently how well the Chiefs defense has been playing. The Dolphins defense is getting a little better. They got Jalen Ramsey back this past week. And again, Miami hasn't played a great schedule. They've played the Giants, the Panthers, Patriots, and the Eagles in the last 4 weeks. So, and they lost that game against the Eagles. But I do think both of these teams traveling abroad for the first time. I don't remember the last time either of these teams were abroad, but doing so with Patrick Mahomes, again, coming off of the illness, that offense took a little bit of a step back for sure. So I lean the under here. 15.5 is a lot, and there's a chance we could see some fireworks, but I think that all of those factors contribute to this going under.
Pat, this one to me is an individual game. I'm looking for individual props here because I'm kind of where Sam is. I think the lines just feel right for this one. They're giving Miami enough respect and also Kansas City as well. But what are your thoughts on this one? Do you see any early value?
Yeah, I mean, not really on either side.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen the Dolphins establish this pattern where they beat up on lesser teams and then wilt against the Super Bowl caliber teams. And I don't know if we'll get that same script. The Chiefs really did not play well against the Broncos. That's an understatement, I think. And so maybe it's a good bounce back spot for them against a team that has not handled quality well. But I don't really want to bet the Chiefs here at this number. I will be looking at the travel itineraries, Joe, to see if anyone makes the dubious decision to fly over on Friday. And if they do, I'm going to be betting against that team. But hopefully these teams are going to be a little smarter than that. We've seen that happen with the late arrivals in the past, usually get their lunch eaten in an overseas game. I'm a little on the opposite side of the total, though. I kind of think we're going to see fireworks in this game. When I saw this at 50.5, my inclination was to think that was a little low of where I thought it was going to be. I thought we'd see something closer to 52. So Sam could be right. The last 4 Chiefs games have played under, but I do think we're going to see points in this game. I kind of think it goes
Sam, you
over.
had something to add here?
Yeah, a couple things. The Chiefs had 5 turnovers this past week
Yep.
against the Broncos. I don't think that holds up against the Dolphins. I could be wrong, but I do think the Dolphins are going out to Germany today, Monday, and the Chiefs are going out there later this week. So could be something for you to consider.
There you go. Look at that. Pat's already clicking on the Betting Pros app right now. I could feel it going. Don't forget to make all your picks count too. Join our NFL contest, bettingpros.com/NFL contest. It's free. It's fun. You don't even have to make wagers. You just got to make picks. Just make 5 a week, 100 on the season, and the winner gets a Jackson Smith and Jigba jersey. We're also giving away weekly prizes, monthly prizes, BP upgrades, FP upgrades. We're also giving away gift cards to our Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros shops. So have some fun, make some picks, compete against us at bettingpros.com/NFL contest, or just click on the community tab on your BP app and join the NFL contest there as well. Next one here, Minnesota Vikings. Oh, poor Kirk Cousins. Just when things were going better for the Vikings, it's tough, man. It is tough to be a Vikings fan. 37.5 is this number as they travel with Jaron Hall likely to play quarterback here against the Atlanta Falcons. Now the Falcons secondary did not play well this past week against the Titans. I don't want to talk too much about that, but look, we'll see what the health is of Desmond Ridder. Terrell Heineke did come in and play in that game. So these are 2 4-4 teams. I'm not sure where we stand with them, but Atlanta is a 4.5 point favorite in this game. The number for the Vikings plus 180. Pat, this one kind of scares me because I know it's like, okay, we're losing our quarterback. We're losing all these things. And then we're going on the road. But, the Falcons have been kind of an enigma all year. I would not be shocked here looking at this money line in the plus 180 if the Vikings just won this game outright. I'd like to hear a little positive news here for some practices about Hall. But what do you think here? What do you make of this one? Any early value?
Yeah, so we get our first possible battle of the backup quarterbacks on Thursday, and we get our second one in the early window with this one because we don't know what the status is for Desmond Ridder. There were reports that he was being checked for concussion, but we don't know whether it was play-related or injury-related and whether we're going to see Ridder or Heineke getting the start this week. But the Falcons do get their second straight game against a non-first round rookie quarterback making his NFL debut. Didn't go so well for them last week with Will Levis torching that secondary, as you mentioned, Joe, and beating the Falcons 28-23. So I can't bet either side here. I'm not willing to take the points or lay the points. But 6 of the Falcons' 8 games have gone under the total this year. 7 of the Vikings' 8 games have gone under the total. We've got at least 1 and maybe 2 backup quarterbacks playing in this game. 38 seems pretty optimistic for that total. So I've already hit the under on this one, and I think this is another game we see go down in the total as the week goes along.
So many backup quarterbacks, second string quarterbacks, third string quarterbacks even that have made their appearances this year. Sam, 37.5 again, as Pat's point. It feels like another one where maybe the under is the early lock in here. What do you think?
It probably is. I mean, this is just a shame with what's happened to Kirk Cousins. I know that he's been the butt of jokes in the past, especially in his primetime games, but he was having a pretty good season this year, and over the last couple of games had probably one of the best games of his career in primetime last week. But I can't touch this game without knowing what the Vikings are going to do. I don't think Jaren Hall is a feasible option at quarterback, and I know he's not a first round pick, but he's definitely not on the level of Will Levis, who got taken at the beginning of the second round. So I think there's an opportunity for the Vikings to go after a Colt McCoy, a Carson Wentz, like one of these veteran guys who I think can keep the offense at a higher floor than what Hall would bring. So I'm staying away from the game. I think the under is probably the best bet right now, but this is
it's tough.
It really sucks.
I think the under is the safest one too. And I will say this, of all the games we've talked about so far, just sort of like the early one with Tennessee, this one to me, even more so the way Ritter has struggled, if he comes back or not. We'll see what Heineke does with this offense if he gets more of an opportunity. But 37.5, it doesn't feel like by the time we get to Sunday, that number is going to still be available. This feels like it's going to continue to go down. Seattle is going to travel to Baltimore. Baltimore 6-2, handling their business. Seattle eking out a victory here in dramatic fashion. They are going to be 5.5-point underdogs heading to Baltimore this week. 43 is the number, plus 200 on the Seattle side on the money line. Sam, your thoughts on this contest here? Does Baltimore really handle Seattle? Because theoretically they should, but sometimes that's not always gone the way.
I don't think so. I made this Baltimore by 4.5 when I was first going through the games. I struggle with this one. This is going to be a fantastic matchup. I think the Seattle defense has played a little bit better than what their actual personnel dictates. They haven't allowed a positive EPA per play since week 4. Granted, the offense hasn't played that great either. They haven't had a positive EPA per play since then either. But I do think that Geno Smith has really grown into some of the deep ball passing he's had. I think that's where you can attack this Ravens secondary. This is a lower total, obviously not as low as some of the games we've already talked about, but I think with that in consideration, I'm taking the points with the Seahawks.
Pat, your thoughts on this one? 43 is the number here. Sam likes the Seattle side in the 5.5. You think they can keep it close?
Yeah, so the Seahawks are 4-1-1 against the spread in their last 6 games. They are on an upward trajectory, but so are the Ravens. They're rolling. They've won 3 straight, and they've won them all by at least a touchdown. Plus, we have a West Coast team going out east for an early kickoff. I tend not to like betting the West Coast teams under those circumstances. So I don't know. I'm not really leaning strongly to either side, although I like the Ravens as a slightly better percentage play, perhaps. I'm more inclined to go with the under here. The last 12 Seahawks games, 8 of them have played under, and for the Ravens, 12 of their last 18 games have played under, plus 9 of the last 10 Ravens home games have played under. Opponents just don't score a lot at M&T Bank Stadium. So I think I'm going to bet the under here and lay off the side.
Bears are coming off a Sunday night loss here to the Chargers. They are 2-6, so we don't know if they're going to have Justin Fields for this game. Right now, the number is 7 heading into New Orleans. Again, New Orleans 7-point favorites in this one. Derek Carr's been airing the ball out lately, that's for sure. 41.5 is the number for this one. If you like the Bears in the upset, it's plus 245 over on Betting Pros. So, Pat, let's talk about this. Do you want to lock in this 7 now in anticipation of Fields not playing, or do you want to potentially wait this one out and see if there's any change and then a Fields return this week?
I think I want to sit this one out, Joe. We have talked about the vexing unpredictability of the New Orleans Saints this year. They have been my bet noir as far as betting, my betting bet noir. Yeah, like and we've seen the Bears, like they haven't been good all year, but the 2 wins they have been very convincing blowouts of the Commanders and Raiders. So the big wild card, obviously, the status of Justin Fields. And I'm disinclined to make a bet either way on whether he comes back or not. So I'm just going to sit this one out and let someone else try to pick the Saints correctly.
Sam,
I just can't do it.
Are you as vexed as Pat is on this one?
Yes, I am. I think Fields plays this week. I really do, but the Saints offense has actually looked pretty good. I obviously had the sort of a stinker against the Jaguars on Thursday Night Football a couple of weeks ago, but they have so many great weapons on offense, and I don't see how this Bears defense is able to stop that, even if Derek Carr, goes back into his shell. So I think laying 7 points against with the Saints, I guess it is tough. I think I'd rather, again, combine them with the Titans, like I mentioned earlier, in a teaser leg.
All right, so teasing it around there. Let's go to the next one here, Arizona and Cleveland. Cleveland really had a lot of opportunities to win that game in Seattle, and they just couldn't take advantage of those opportunities. They are now 4-3. They're going to head back home here with the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I doubt we get Kyler Murray back in this one. It seems to be like we're going to wait another week for him. Cardinals are 1-7. The Cardinals always keep these, games. They have a tendency to continue to compete, which is always a dangerous thing for some of these lines. The number is 7 here. Cleveland being the favorite at home. 38.5 is the total, plus 250 for Arizona. Sam, when you're taking a look here at this one, do you think Cleveland handles this one in the 7 points very easily, or do you think this could be a struggle for them?
I think it could be a struggle. I mean, this offense still looks out of sorts. They had a really great game plan against the Seahawks this past week with the screen game they got working, but their defense is looking not like the historical defense we were expecting. Both Zadarius Smith and Alex Wright left the game this past week, as did cornerback Greg Newsome. The Arizona offense isn't getting much better, but I just don't trust the Cleveland offense to move the ball enough to win by more than 7 points, even against the Cardinals defense. So I think, again, with the lower total, I'm taking Arizona with the points.
Pat, do you trust the Cleveland defense, though, to get a score in this game and maybe make this 7 a little bit more comfortable than we realize?
I think that could happen. And despite some of the injuries, I think I'm still inclined to bet on the Browns defense because of how deep that unit is and how many impact guys they have in that unit. As game and effort as the Cardinals have been giving us every week, they have lost 5 straight games, and all of those losses have been by 7 or more points. And on the road this year, 0-4, and all of those losses have been by 9 or more points. So I think I'm going to take the Browns at home here, even laying a touchdown or more.
Battle of 2, 3, and 4 teams here. The Houston Texans at home, 2.5-point favorites against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, also 3-4. 40 is the number for this one. Again, not a very inspiring total necessarily. Plus 126 for the Bucs on the money line. Now, the Bucs did hang close. So on Thursday Night Football last week, Bogman and I did nail that one on the 9.5. They covered that bad boy. This one is a tighter margin here, 2.5. Pat, when you're looking at this one, do you see any early value potentially with the Bucs in Houston, or do you think Houston gets back home and gets back right after a disappointing loss to the Panthers?
I think I do see a little early value with the Bucs, Joe. And I know that the Texans toe stubbing against the Panthers upset some people, but some of us thought the Texans were maybe coming into that game a little overvalued in the betting markets, and some of us took the Panthers in the points. So, yeah, I think Sam and I might have been on different sides of this one last week. And
Erickson was on that Carolina Panthers side. He was talking about this on Friday, talking about the showing up there. And I understand, a team's coming off bye. You think, okay, the Houston's played well. But Sam, when you're looking at this one too, is the right way to go just straight for the Tampa Bay money line at plus 126 here?
If you want to bet back the Bucs, sure. I mean, this one I didn't really have a good lean on because, again, I think the Texans aren't as good as I thought they were. I didn't catch much of this game. I need to go back and rewatch it just to see what happened to the Texans offense, because they were in a perfect spot against the Panthers. And so I do think the Texans, again, should be able to have some success through the air. I do think the under on this game is in play, just because both of these teams love to run a halfback dive on 1st and 10, and it just sets them back right away. So I'm hoping the Texans win because I like this team. I love what DeMeco Ryans has been doing. But from a side perspective, I'm not touching it right now.
New England Patriots at home, coming off a game, another loss to the Miami Dolphins there. Again, they competed. They kept it interesting, at least towards the end. -3, though, they are favorites at home against the Washington Commanders, who constantly play up and down to their competition. So another weird, dangerous spot. They're so competitive against the Eagles, and at other teams you watch them play and you're just trying to figure out, how do you not just wiping the floor with the Giants? I don't know. 40 is the number for this one, plus 130 for the upset on the Washington money line. Sam, what do you make out of this one?
I think I'm going with Washington and probably the money line. At first glance, I didn't really see much value in this. I made the game exactly what it is right now, but looking a little bit deeper into it, the Patriots' defensive weakness is through the air. They get a 30% pressure rate on defense. And obviously we know the biggest weakness for Washington is Sam Howell taking sacks. So I think with the way that offense is clicking, I'm enticed to take, again, Washington with a little bit of variance and hoping they come away with that victory.
Pat, do you see things the same way here, Sam, in this game against Washington and New England?
I'm inclined to trust Sam, but I'm probably just going to, cheerlead for him while I don't bet this game at all, because I can't trust the Commanders. You said it, Joe. How does this team play the Eagles so tough twice and then get completely stomped by the Chicago Bears? And meanwhile, we've got the Patriots, who went 1-4 in October, 1-4 against the spread in October, but the one win was against the Bills at home. So if they can beat the Bills at home, they can't handle business against the Washington Commanders. I can't trust either of these teams. I'm not going to bet this one.
Now, this one is very interesting coming up next, because you have the Green Bay Packers at 2-5. This is kind of, I don't want to be dramatic, but this is kind of their season here. You go to 2-6, this is done. It's over. The Los Angeles Rams, another team that, we just keep trying to figure out. This is going to be their second consecutive road game for them as well. The Packers are still 3-point favorites in this one. The number's 39.5, plus 140 for the Rams on the money line. Pat, I feel like the wrong team is favored in this game, but I can't make a logical, cogent argument as to why the Rams should be favored, except for the fact that if Matthew Stafford is healthy enough to play, that this should be a game that the Rams go out there and handle their business against, frankly, an offense in Green Bay that has just not worked. Let's just call it what it is. So the question is the Matthew Stafford health. That's the thing that's holding us up. So do we want to jump on this game now and bet that Stafford's going to soldier through this injury, or do you want to wait and get more information and maybe miss some value?
Yeah, I'm on the fence here, Joe, because on Sunday night, this game was Packers by 1.5. And I saw your point about taking the Rams getting points in Green Bay when their offense has been functioning at a much higher level than the Packers offense of late. But at the same time, if Brett Rippon is the starter for the Rams, as a warm weather team coming into Lambeau on what should be a pretty chilly Sunday afternoon next week, I think the Packers are actually a value at anything a field goal or less if it's Rippon starting. So, yes, I want to bet something now to try to get a beat on this game before we know more about Stafford's injury. But I don't know which way to go with this one, because, it would feel wrong to bet the Packers if it was Stafford playing. It would feel wrong to have the Rams if it's Rippon going into Green Bay. So, I'm probably just going to bite the bullet and lay off this one.
This is a tricky situation here, and I'm stuck between, instead of two ferns, it's two Packer fans. So, cheeseheads, come on. Sam, are you going to put the final nail in the coffin for the Packers here with the Rams, or are you going to wait this one out?
Oh, we've already put the nail in the coffin. I know this is a football podcast. I've got the Bucs shirt on today.
Oh, you've already transitioned to NBA. I'm wearing the Bengals shirt from the
today.
Bengals money line pick that paid off big time. Let's go. They said San
we're on to
Fran wouldn't lose 3
2024.
games in a row, Sam. And I say, hold my Brock Purdy. I said, just wait.
Yeah, we're already firing up the mock draft simulator, seeing how many picks it'll take to trade up to the number 1 spot for Caleb Williams. But on to analysis of this game. Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic did report this morning that the Rams are evaluating a number of options with Matthew Stafford. They're going to test his thumb out and how he can grip the ball throughout the week. I think the chillier conditions in Green Bay, combined with the fact that the Rams have a bye following this game, keeps Stafford out of this game. But I honestly still kind of like the Rams. I mean, they've been running the ball a ton the past several weeks. Their pass rate over expectation is deep in the negatives. I mean, to a Falcons-esque level. And the Green Bay rush defense had its best performance against Minnesota this past week. But I think the Rams are just going to hand the ball off to the combination of Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman, who have played pretty okay in the stead of Kyron Williams. So I think this is, I mean, again, the coffin is in, or the nail's in the coffin for the Packers already. I think the Rams honestly have a chance to steal this one, even if Stafford is out.
I do. I like the 3 already with the Rams. Just give me the 3 in the Rams right now, and we'll see how it goes. And if Stafford ends up, clearing through and they think he can give it a go, then double down with it and take the Rams on the money line. That's how I look at this one. Indianapolis going against Carolina. Carolina gets their first victory. Indy coming off another L here. They are now 3-5. They're going to still be road favorites, though. -2.5 for the Colts here at -115. 45 is the number for this one. Carolina, can they do it 2 in a row? +130 says if they can. Sam Hoppen, what do you say?
This one's tough. I mean, the Colts' road favorites is kind of stinky to me. I think that said, Shane Steichen has been such an upgrade at coaching for the Colts. Obviously, I think Frank Reich last year got jobbed a little bit, but man, if they had stuck with Jeff Saturday, I don't know what this team would have looked like. But in any case, I struggle to have a take on the side here. All of the Colts games this year have been points fest. They play super fast. They play well enough to move the ball. I do think the market has caught up to that a little bit with the total where it's at. So I think it's a little bit too high for me to go over, even though, again, the Panthers in their win only scored 15 points. So this is just a complete stay away from me.
All right, Pat, are you running the other direction from Panthers and Colts too?
Joe, the Saints are the first team that I don't want to touch, that just terrify me. And the Colts are the other team I can't get right on. We're on the eve of Halloween here, Joe. And I think my Halloween horror would be betting Saints Colts games every week. So I'm glad we're not getting that matchup again. I'm not going to bet either side on the Colts. I don't like them as a road favorite. But the Colts have become one of the most predictable over teams in the National Football League. They've gone over the total in 4 of their last 5. The average point total in Colts games this year is 54.3 points. And 6 of the Colts' 8 games this season have played over 50 points. So I'll ride that trend and take the over here, even though, the Panthers might need a little help getting that point total up, but maybe the Colts can oblige and put up 30 or
All right, this one's definitely a must-watch game. You're going to like this one. The Eagles, 7-1, are going to host the Dallas Cowboys at 5-2. The Cowboys looked great. Phenomenal game for them. They were rocking and rolling. Dak Prescott throwing the ball over to play. CeeDee Lamb crushed that 5.5 receptions over we talked about on Friday. Bogman, by the way, was 4 out of 5 out of his picks on Friday, too. Great job out of him. 46 is the number for this one, +135 for the Cowboys upset. I'm going to keep this one easy, Pat. For me, give me the Eagles in the 3 right now, because I know the Cowboys look great. Everyone's talking about the Cowboys are back and all this stuff. I've said from before the season, during the season, even when people were concerned, I still think the Eagles are the class of the NFC by a long shot. I don't want to hear anybody tell me differently. So be careful, because if you tell me differently, we might have to have words. I don't know. But what do you think here about this with the Cowboys and Eagles? Because I just want the Eagles in the 3 and just walk away from this one. I'm confident the Eagles at home are going to handle their business.
At first blush, I like the Eagles in the under, Joe, but here's what scares me about this game. It's starting to look like pass coverage is a real Achilles heel for the Eagles. And we saw that yesterday with the Commanders and Sam Howell, who I'm not even sure if he's a good quarterback yet, just picked the Eagles apart. Like, if their pass rush does not get home, these Eagle cornerbacks cannot stay with wide receivers. And that's a big problem with CeeDee Lamb coming to town off a 12-catch, 2-touchdown game. So, man, I think I'm going to stay away from this one. I just, I can't back the Eagles when I was so horrified by their pass defense yesterday.
You make a great point about that, and that is a good logical point. My point is a little bit more on the emotional side, Sam, which is I don't think the Dallas Cowboys have the mental and emotional fortitude to go into Philadelphia and win a football game. I just don't think they're that team. They have not shown me they're that team, and just because you beat the Rams this week does not necessarily change my opinion of that. What say you?
I disagree. I think the Cowboys are in a great spot here. Pat mentioned the Eagles' pass defense. Over the last 4 weeks, they've allowed a 10.4% explosive pass rate. That is 30th in the league. Meanwhile, over that same stretch of games, the Cowboys' offense is first, having a 10.7% explosive pass rate. The Cowboys defense is still getting a ton of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. The Eagles offensive line has struggled a little bit lately. They're allowing a 39% pressure rate over the last 4 weeks. The Dallas passing offense just looks great. I mean, Dak is out there dropping some dimes. That touchdown pass to Jake Ferguson just over the defender's head. He's been playing exceptionally well. The Cowboys are starting to pass the ball a little bit more. I think they understand that their rushing offense is just not what they might have expected it to be. So I think Dallas can go into Philly and take the upset, or at least cover the 3 points.
Now, after all of that, I think I want to tease this, and I want to take the Eagles by even more. That's what I think. And see, everyone, they do this all the time. You start to look at the Cowboys. They're looking good again. They're such a public team. Everyone's going to go run and bet the Cowboys. No. Stay with the Eagles. Let's see on Monday if I'm right or wrong. Then the boys can hammer me if I'm wrong. We'll see what happens. The New York Giants, 2-6, will take on the Las Vegas Raiders. 3-point underdogs going into Las Vegas are the Giants. 38.5 is the number for this, with the Giants on the money line plus 140. Possibly Daniel Jones coming back here in this one, Sam. I know some of these games are pretty ugly here. We've got 2 more left after this, one of which is much more exciting. So do you want to just fast forward through Giants Vegas, or is it something that appeals to you?
Pass.
Oh.
I mean, the Giants had a 27.7% success rate on Sunday. Almost 3/4 of the plays got them further away from scoring. It was just so bad. I know there was the rain, Tyrod getting hurt. Daniel Jones is cleared to return. It sounds like he's going to play in this game, but I still think the Raiders offense is pretty solid, and they'll be able to move the ball. So give me the Raiders, I guess.
Give me the over on Saquon Barkley's carry total, whatever that is. Whatever the rushing attempts are, over. That's how you bet this game. Pat, you see anything else you like besides that?
Yeah, I mean, laying a field goal or more with the Raiders, give me the points every time against Josh McDaniels and the Raiders, especially with Daniel Jones coming back. Will this be the first time all year where they have Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley?
First in a while. Healthy, that's a different question. Healthy since week 1, maybe, or 2, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I guess early in the season. So I'll take the Giants and the points here.
All right.
I know they haven't given us much reason for optimism yet, but I don't like the Raiders as a big favorite. Come on.
I'm not a big favorite. They are the standard favorite. They are you are good enough to
field
be
goal
at
or
home.
more.
Here's 3 points. There you go. Everybody choose your own
That's too
adventure.
big for the Raiders.
Fair enough. All right. Well, how about the 3 points that the Cincinnati Bengals are getting at home against the Buffalo Bills? 48.5 is the number on this one, plus 130 for the Buffalo Bills. You know where I'm going to go. I'm representing Houday. Let's go. Let's go a little Cincinnati Bengals action. I picked the Bengals last week. I'm going to keep rolling with them. I think the Bengals are a favorite for a reason in this game. I think the Buffalo Bills, you clearly can see they missed certain of those missing pieces on defense. Joe Burrow looked by far the healthiest he has been. He getting out of sacks, running around in the pocket. I think the rest of the AFC better get real worried here because the Bengals are getting back into this thing. So, Pat, do you think they handle the Buffalo Bills here at home?
Yeah, this line's really interesting, Joe, because the Bengals do look like the Bengals again, and the Bills haven't been able to get decisive wins against bad teams. Their last 3 games, one-score games against the Buccaneers, Patriots, and Giants. They lost the Patriots game and came within a whisker of losing that game to the Giants. I think when we look at the power rankings this week, like when Massey Peabody updates their ratings, it's going to say that the value is with the Bills, but that's taking into account the entire body of work where the Bengals were so out of sorts early in the season, and now they are just humming again, and they're basically back where they were the last couple of years as valid Super Bowl contenders. So I can't blame you. I'm leaning towards the Bengals here as well.
Sam, come on. There's plenty of room on the train. Hop aboard. Let's go. We're going to Cincinnati.
Look, this is going to be some good, clean fun. We're going to start our Sunday morning with a matchup between the 2 MVP favorites. Going to roll into the afternoon with Ravens Seahawks, Ravens. Then we're going to get a nice matinee viewing with the Cowboys and Eagles. And then we're going to wrap up our night with this Bills Bengals. I mean, it's going to be a phenomenal day of football. I'm on the Bengals, though. I took them at 2.5 this morning. They were 1.5 even earlier this morning. So getting a lot of steam here for the Bengals, but you mentioned it. Joe Burrow looks healthy. In weeks 1 through 6, Joe Burrow took 15 snaps from under center. In week 8 alone, he took 14 snaps from under center. His health is going to open up this offense so much more. Obviously, the Bills get some extra rest playing on Thursday Night Football the previous week, but they just don't look like the juggernaut that they used to be. Have had some issues. I think some of the decision making that Sean McDermott made in that game against Tampa Bay was very suspect, and it kept the Buccaneers in that game to the point where if Chris Godwin turns around a little bit earlier, like they are losing that game and are, just even further behind the Dolphins. So I like the Bengals in this game. I think the Bengals are just looking like they can make a real run here.
All right. One more game, Monday Night Football, because, the NFL loves to put these New York teams here on these standalone games. We've got to do it every week. It feels like I've got to have at least one of them. The Jets at 4-3 somehow won that football game. Don't ask me how. I watched it. I watched the highlights twice. I still can't understand how that all happened. 4-3. They are 2.5-point underdogs, though, to the Chargers. 41.5 is the number, plus 125 for the Jets side. Sam, are we giving the Jets a little too much credit here at this plus 2.5 number here? I mean, look, I don't love the Chargers, and I never love the Chargers traveling across the country, and I never love the Chargers on prime time. And the more I'm saying these things out loud, the more I understand the line. But gee whiz, I mean, shouldn't the Chargers go in there and just put up a bunch of points on the Jets at this point?
They should. I mean, I think if the Chargers get out to an early lead, they should be able to salt this one away. The Jets lost more offensive linemen to injuries in Sunday's games. Center Connor McGovern and left guard Wes Schweitzer both got hurt. The Chargers pass rush hasn't been great this year, but the Jets are already allowing a pressure rate over 40%. I think the Chargers run defense continues to be solid. So if they decide to shy away from Zach Wilson, that the Chargers rush defense will be able to hold them to fewer yards. And yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert is just stratospheres better than Zach Wilson. I get the rest of the team is not as much up to stuff, and the Jets defense as a whole is pretty good, but I think Justin Herbert can do some damage.
Pat, will Justin Herbert do damage, or are we going to somehow see the Jets sneak out another victory here? I'm at a loss with this one here with the Jets.
That Jets defense is really, really good. And, we know the Chargers tortured recent history. Heck, they're tortured long-term history. I mean, it's just like really hard to back the Chargers. When I saw that line against the Bears last week at 8.5, and the Chargers, give them credit, they took care of business, but they usually don't take care of business so easily. And meanwhile, you've got this Jets team that wants to play everyone close, whether it's a really good team or a bad team like the Giants. So, man, I'm not touching this game. I'm not touching. It's an interesting matchup, but I do not want to bet this game.
This one feels like a live bet game, where you get in there and you get a sense of what's going on in the first quarter, and then you try to make an impulsive stand one way or another. That's what this feels like to me. Especially it's fun because it's standalone, so it's a lot easier to do that because you got no other games distracting you. So that's one that I'd be looking at. But again, as Sam pointed out, definitely you could start in the morning with your coffee and then an after dinner drink by the time you get to Sunday Night Football. And then maybe Monday night you find something to do with the kids. I don't know, instead of having to watch the Jets. We'll see. But again, we want to hear from you. Drop your comments below, and one of them just might win a 1-year premium upgrade to Betting Pros. So make sure you drop those comments. Tell us what you're in on for Week 9 in the NFL. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel for Betting Pros and click that bell for notifications till it goes ding. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Sam Hoppen and Pat Fitzmaurice, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.